just to close this loop, I've talked about the final season in totality. No different here. Cobra Kai. The final episodes of Cobra Kai have aired. They premiered on Netflix. They have split season 6 into 3 different parts for reasons that all relate to stock prices and stockholders and things that I'm not even concerned about, but it is what it is. Cobra Kai has now reached its conclusion after 6 seasons, 7 years on air. I've done nothing but praise Cobra Kai on the show, and that's just not going to change here. This was such a satisfying conclusion to the Cobra Kai story. It was just so fitting and so enjoyable and so well done across the board. Where this season picks up, this particular part of the season picks up, it's after the Saikai Taikai tournament, which is basically the biggest dojo that happens in the world to determine who's the top dojo in the world. And it was all happening in Barcelona for the majority of this season. A tragic incident occurs at the Saikai Taikai, and ultimately things get canceled. Everybody goes back home, but there's a chance that they can resume this tournament. But if they do resume the tournament, everybody has to agree to come back to the table to compete, but also they have to agree on terms and location, so on and so forth. Ultimately, they agreed to have the Saikai Taikai tournament take place in the Valley, which is where this all began, which is where this is all set to bring it all full circle. That's the only way that they could have ended it. And what they do with these episodes, these final few episodes, was just so satisfying because what they did really was shift the entire focus, I think, back to what brought this show to the dance to begin with. It's almost like in these last few episodes, they remembered why they called themselves Cobra Kai as a show. Like there's a very, very intentional reason as to why it's called Cobra Kai and not Miyagi or any other character. And they almost remembered that. They really decided to focus on the senseis in the story, both played by Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, who respectively played Daniel and Johnny. It's historically been this conflict between these two, this bitter enemies, best of friends sort of conflict that they've been going back and forth with. And they really focus on them. It's a huge ensemble cast, and other people in the cast do get their shine and they do get their moments, but it's really about them. But even more importantly, it's really about Johnny Lawrence and what he's meant to the show, because it all started with him. This whole show and the whole premise was about his story and where he went after he lost to Daniel-san back in the original Karate Kid movie. And they really, really got back to that and focused on him. And he was absolutely phenomenal in these last few episodes. He had I would say a handful of really, really heartbreaking scenes that are just like, oh my goodness, like they really bring everything full circle and make it all make sense and make you remember the trials and tribulations that he's been through as a character. And they just make it so satisfying, the conclusion of it. And then even all of the bad guys in the show, because they've introduced a lot of villains. Nobody really gets redemption, which I love. They lean into the idea that, yeah, these guys have done shitty things. They've done bad things, and they're going to get their comeuppance. They're going to get their due in many different ways. However, there's one particular bad character. I won't give it away, but one of the characters who's notoriously been a villain in this show and also the Karate Kid movies, he has several moments and several sort of pivots and turns that are just, they're amazing. They make sense. They're incredible. And I just love what they did here. And all of the action, again, of course, like the choreography and the stuff that they do, all of that stuff is always pretty much top notch. And I would say, out of every legacy sequel that's come out in the past, 20 or so years, this is one of the most rewarding ones. I think if anybody's a fan of Cobra Kai, of Karate Kid, if you still not watch Cobra Kai, like, you have to watch it. Like there is nothing really that satisfying out there in terms of continuing a story with the legacy characters, bringing back the people that damn near everybody, but then also introducing an entirely new generation that you're really, really going to care about. Like you care about all of these new characters that they've built out in this new world. And it actually gets me really excited about this upcoming Karate Kid movie, which is going to be, somewhat disconnected. I think it's set 3 years after the events of Cobra Kai, but Ralph Macchio is coming back and they do have Jackie Chan coming in. It actually has me excited about it. It's going to go in a different direction and do something, separate from this. But when I think about all of the Cobra Kai and Karate Kid stuff that we've gotten, the only thing that I just haven't liked is probably the next Karate Kid. That's like the only movie that I'm like, that one doesn't really work. That one, I can probably do the one with Hilary Swank. It wasn't the greatest one, but I like all the first 3 originals. The one with young Jaden, it's solid.
That's a decent movie.
It's solid.
I like
it's
that
solid.
movie.
And so they've managed to turn in just like really quality stuff, throughout this entire franchise, and have taken really, really good care of it. And Cobra Kai is no exception. I loved what they did with these final episodes.
Yeah, but I still haven't watched it yet. But now I can really binge to my heart's content and just have a blast with it. I really am looking forward to the movie that's upcoming as well. But yeah, I think just being able to immerse yourself in this world for 6 seasons is impressive. Like, you talk about legacy sequels, this is a lot of material
In this day and
like
age, it doesn't happen.
it doesn't happen. It's kind of crazy to see that it made it this far and was able to finish too, and literally see it through to the finish line. I think that says a lot about the integrity of the show and how good it was. I really got to get to it. I might have to start like today, to be honest, and go ahead and start my slow build. Let me start episode 1 and go ahead and get through it in slow motion. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm glad to hear you sing its praises. I can't wait to check it out.